Welcome to the Consulting Leaders Podcast, where we talk about the business of consulting. Whether you're looking to grow your practice or learn from the stories of leaders in consulting, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Guillaume Jouvencel, ex-PwC and co-founder of GHA Marketing. Join me as I interview the best consultants in their niche. Let's get on with the show. Bill, welcome to my show, Consulting Leaders. It's a pleasure to have you on.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Let's jump straight into it. What's pulled you into financial markets headhunting, and what convinced you that this was the place to be?
Sure. Well, I think like most headhunters and people working in the recruitment industry, probably wasn't something that I grew up thinking a lot about and wanting to get into. But I found myself in that. Backstory was failed professional sportsman. Found myself in the situation that I needed to get a job, and sales, recruitment-based industries naturally attract quite competitive people. And my background, being a rugby player, was one of those. So timing for me in 2008 coming in, the financial services industry as a whole was a very interesting time in the world at that point. But found myself into a job, and 17 years later, here we are. So not I wanted to grow up being this, not something, my parents said, hey, this is the career for you. We'd love you to be a headhunter. No, I had to explain what that role entailed when I actually got my job, my first job. But it's something that, I can't ever envision myself, doing anything different. Recruitment is very much people-based. And coming from a sports background, being in teams, seeing how teams were built, seeing how teams win, seeing how teams fail, seeing how people come in, come out, was actually a very natural industry for me to fall into.
I would love to take the rugby tangent here, but we need to stick to consulting, Bill. But who knows? Maybe for an episode number 2. So I love that's not something when you grow up, you don't think, oh my God. When I'm a grown up, I hope I'm a financial markets, headhunter. Now here we are, and I think it's on the competitiveness for having worked in finance. I can relate to that. What would you say is the problem that you solve now? So what is it that you help people achieve?
So I think the problems that recruiters, especially external search partners, solve really there are 3 areas in which recruiters solve a problem. So one being the opportunity of growth. So we're looking to build this. We're looking to go to here. This is what we're looking to achieve, being one. On the other side of that, we are in a period of challenge. We have lost several team members. Our share price is hemorrhaging. This is happening. Something that is crisis related, where they need someone specific, is something where an external search partner can really help. So growth or challenge related. The third, and probably where I'm not best placed to support, is one of continuity, one of stability. We're looking to, someone's retired, we're looking to continue as we are. That is, for me, I see as more of a marketing exercise, which can be very well done by internal teams or headhunters that are your sort of established firms that we've done this is what we do, and we will manage the process really effectively. For me, the 2 areas that I am most effective at and where I solve the problem for clients is growth or challenge related. So,
I have so many follow-up questions on this, especially how do you communicate on those 2 very different problems at the end of the day. Before we get there, can you tell us a bit more about who is it that you solve that problem for? Either finding the right people when the company has opportunity for growth, or the company is going through periods of challenges and they need someone because someone just left the company whatsoever. So who is it that you're helping specifically? Who's your ICP?
So from a client-based perspective, typically I would say, most of my clients at the moment are sell-side focused to start off with. So investment banks and broker-dealers in the US market and brokers in the UK market. So them specifically as clients. And those typically that are, from a size perspective, would be classed as mid-market. So those that are either emerging or challenging to the bigger players. So you have your traditional bulge bracket investment banks, you have your larger investment banks, and then when you start to look at regional investment banks, mid-markets, and broker-dealers, that's where I sit. So those that are typically wanting to do something different, know their clients in a different way to those from an international perspective, perhaps a bit more intimately on a regional level, and understanding of what they do in their local markets, and support them typically with growth based opportunities, but then at a senior sort of executive level, those that are either looking to grow even further or looking for something different in terms of a change of leadership. So that would be the sort of the mandate on that side. So we are looking for this. I go to market and find that. But then there are the opportunities whereby, from a candidate perspective, I talk to lots of people in the market. And if I've got a really good understanding of a client, what they're looking to do, or perhaps what their challenges are, sharing ideas and pitching ideas around particular candidates that I've got in mind that might be well suited to them, or best placed for where they are at their time in business to support them with some of those opportunities.
So back to the two problems that you're solving. An investment bank or a broker dealer is entering into a period of growth and they need horsepower, versus an investment bank or a broker dealer faces a challenge and they need to restaff or to staff up. How do you market the solution to those two problems by headhunting the right person? Because I guess the messaging, the pain point is very, very different. So maybe starting at the top, how do you market, how do you brand yourself, and how do you make sure that you get the right message in front of the right people?
Sure. Well, that again comes down to the opportunity. So whether it's an opportunity of growth or a challenging situation, and that comes down to looking for something different. What you need for someone that is going to help an organization grow is very different to someone that's looking to turn around a particular organizational business unit. Very different skill sets. So that comes down to the pitch and finding the type of candidate that's going to support them both for both their sort of what the opportunities are. So how I would sort of offer my services to a client is through relationship building. Very rarely would a spot opportunity come up in that we're just looking to do this and then go to market. Typically, the relationship would have been built over a period of time. So it's something that they've been planning for a while. Typically, the more senior you go up the sort of levels of an organization, the more planning that's needed to go into an opportunity. So that opportunity is being worked out, planned, and put into place over a period of weeks to months, typically. So it doesn't come as a shock when they're looking to do that. At points where there might be a challenge around a crisis or something that's happened, that can be a bit more reactive. But again, those sort of opportunities would be typically mandated based on a relationship that's been there for a while and built over time, rather than winning a project off the bat and being a first time sort of role like that. So a relationship that's been built over time, and then how I would go to market would be based on what the problem is that they have, or what the opportunity is that they're looking to solve or find a solution for, or the best option for. So upon doing so, that would then determine my go-to-market on the candidate side. So where the search would lead, what sort of organizations would be best to look at. So not only competitors, the most obvious competitors, but also organizations where they may have been on that journey a couple of years before, or a period before that. Or it might be, again, an organization that is looking to do something different. They've entered a new market, and I'm looking at potentially a different set of competitors to go at, or different organisations to map, and then find the specific person that's done that before.
This is such an interesting aspect of your type of business, Bill, because is there such a thing as, okay, you have investment bank A in the UK who comes to you and is like, hey, we need, XYZ profile. You go to their competitors, you manage to headhunt the right person, poach them, right, and place them into investment bank A. But then investment bank B now faces a challenge because they just lost a star player, and you can provide the supply as well. So you're creating your own demand by looking at the competitors' talents, or how does it work? Have you faced such situations before?
Yes, yeah, I've seen that a lot. Typically, the sort of the route to doing that, you're never going to sort of work or recruit or headhunt from someone that you're already working with. But if you've gone to market, you've identified a company that you've not worked with, you've identified the person who's going to be best placed to do that. You make the hire. You're following up with that organization that you've then headhunted from, explaining what you've just done, being transparent about it, but also showing that you're operating in a similar market. I think is an interesting way to build business. It's definitely an icebreaker to share with let's say a senior executive that you've just headhunted their head of sales or head of this or whatever from them. You kind of put your hands up and say, yeah, sorry about that, but clearly there's going to be an opportunity. Have you got someone identified internally that you would look to take that on, or will you be looking to go external? Based on that depending on how that's received from the hiring manager at that point, can go one of two ways. Either they want nothing more to do with you, they never want to hear from you again, or they potentially see the value that you've just been working something very similar to what we need. You've probably got a good understanding of who the main players are out there. Is there an opportunity to do something at that point? That has happened before to me, and no doubt will happen again.
Creating supply and demand. I like it.
Yes.
An interesting part of your business as well, Bill, is that you need to market to two very different type of people. The company who's looking for help, but also the candidate, especially with headhunting. And here, you correct me if I'm wrong, but actually one of our very first clients was a headhunter as well. And the best talents aren't looking for a job because they are well compensated and well treated at the company they are in. And you need to sell them on the mission. Money is going to be a factor, of course, but then it's like, hey, here is why you should consider a change. But then nurturing those potential candidates, being top of mind for them in case they are looking for a change, or knowing exactly who to go and pick up if you have a certain demand, requires like constant awareness, constant messaging of the message that, hey, if you're ready for a change, reach out to Bill. Do you have such a thing? Like, do you have a strategy to market not only to your potential clients, but also your potential candidates? Or how do you navigate this?
I'd say that's actually, it's a really interesting topic because this has changed over time. So if you look at, just in my own career, being over the last 17 years, there's a lot that has changed in the market around tenure and employment at an organization. If you were to say, I was born in the 80s, but the time of the company man or woman that would join an organization upon graduating from university, sticking with that firm until retirement and getting a gold watch and a pension. That has changed a lot, and even over the last 17 years since I started my career. So, whilst candidates certainly want to show loyalty to their current employer, I think over time, and speculating here, but I think perhaps over the last 5 years, since obviously the world underwent an even bigger transformation in the world of work through COVID, how candidates look at their own employment. They have to see their own. One, they need to see their own value in terms of is that being valued where they're currently at the moment in terms of their employer, but also are there other opportunities that are going to come along. So people being more open-minded that their job for life that we would have described 30, 40 years ago, even 17 years ago, isn't necessarily a job for life, isn't a company for life. So always being open-minded around what else is out there. I look at CVs all day, every day, resumes, and the turnover in employment now has become more increasing. So there's that aspect, but also as well from a cultural perspective, geography-wise, I'm sat here. I'm in the UK, but the most of my work is done in the US at the moment. About 80% of my work is in the US, and again, you see turnover in sort of tenure at an organization being even faster in the US. That's how I see it, but also candidates being more open-minded. So, whilst I will speak to everyone who I believe has the right skill set and experience for a particular opportunity, I'll always make the effort to speak to everyone. And if that isn't the right one for them, and that might be me saying, I don't think this is the right opportunity for you based on this, this, and this, on what you've told me, or you as the candidate saying, hey, Bill, I don't think this is for me because of this, this, and that. There's always that, hey, keep me in mind for the next one. Let me know about what else is out there. Or this might be more interesting to me. So you've always got that focus on keeping in dialogue with candidates. I think even more so now in the age of LinkedIn, staying top of mind from a candidate perspective through content is really important. I can't speak to absolutely everyone in the market, but if I'm posting on LinkedIn and we're connected and they're seeing my content, then they might reach out to me and get in touch with me when they are looking. So there's a combination of a few things there that you do to stay engaged with candidates, but obviously as well being focused on a particular market, being focused on a particular area. So for me, mainly sell side, the work that I do at the moment, mainly in that sort of mid-market emerging challenger space, and then mainly as well sales and trading and investment banking from sort of capital markets, origination, deal making standpoint. You operate in these circles whereby you're not trying to appeal to everyone and everyone. So the content you put out there is focused. You're staying top of mind. That's focus. And the candidates that I'm speaking to, if I was to pick up the phone to you and say, hey, this is the opportunity, I know that the opportunity is going to be pretty relevant to you as a candidate, but if it's not right for you at that time for reasons that I deem or you deem to be right, then you're probably going to know someone that is. So the referral aspect of what then you can build after that is really important as well.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And I'm going to double down on it actually, because so to make the parallel with B2B coaches and consultants listening to us, so most of you listening right now don't have candidates to manage and nurture, right? But you can very much see other consulting leaders and potential referral partners as such, meaning there is the side of things where you're trying to attract the right customers, the right decision makers, and that is a whole marketing exercise on its own, but also positioning yourself as the very expert in your very niche might attract referral partners who are in times looking for a specific expert on a specific topic. For you, Bill, this is exactly it. And the thing I liked a lot about what you said is focused content. I think still today, and especially with the rise of AI, everybody's an expert on LinkedIn now, and it's gonna come down to focused content with your personal touch and expertise, positioning yourself as a thought leader, positioning yourself as an authority. Make sure that you're being seen by the right people, candidates and or referral partners, because you constantly talk about one thing, the thing that you're an expert at. I like that focus of yours when it comes to content, because this is, in my opinion, key for your potential clients, but also for the potential candidates. Yeah. Tell us a bit more about how you move from, I think when we look at the marketing mix, someone is going to be problem aware, right? Especially in your space, like we're looking for growth or we're facing a challenge, we need people. It's not like there is a huge education to be made here. Like you need people in order to grow, and you need a talent to grow properly. So problem awareness is, I think, not that much of an issue. You cover solution awareness by your networking, your relationship-based marketing, the content on LinkedIn. That's how you make people like solution aware. How do you move from that to a conversation, a sales conversation, a scope of work, and a letter of engagement. How do you move from aware to Bill, let's rock and roll?
I'd say the process for that has got longer over time, because from a competitive standpoint, if I look at from my own experience, from a competitive standpoint, there's a lot of other people out there that do what I do. So it's quite difficult to differentiate yourself on one call, on one pitch. That's got to be earned over time, both in terms of sharing case studies around what you've done in terms of your work, and knowing that you actually do this and your experience and your market, but then also building the relationship with the main decision maker. And then once that's been done and it's ready to start to move forward, you've then got to go through the letter of engagement. You've got to get the terms agreed and then get to that point. Now, some move quicker than others. Some organizations can move really quickly, but some take a lot more time, which is that there's sort of no right or wrong answer to that. From a selfish perspective, it's obviously great, as a business owner to see things move faster. But some of the best client relationships that I've had and built over time, have taken a great deal of effort and time to get to that point, to find the right project to start with as well. And that's something I think I really value from a working perspective with a client, is to say, well, we've actually got this at the moment. Perhaps you're not the best person to help us with this at the moment, or we want to do it ourselves because of whatever reasons, but we've got something coming up in a few months that we'd really be interested in talking with you further. And then finding that right opportunity to start things off and build from there can be a really effective way to build the work that I'm doing in the client relationship.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And that does make sense, that sales cycles would be longer. Back to building trust, building relationship with the right people as well. And back to the anybody can claim anything on internet nowadays. This is a double-edged sword, meaning people are lower on trust, but then once you're able to build that trust, you're more likely to close deals and build relationships for the long term.
Yes.
One of the things that I like to ask on this show, Bill, is how do you farm? In the sense of, when I was a consultant myself, the partner who kind of taught me everything, if I can say so, was like, Guillaume, there are two types of consultants. And I wonder if it's the same for recruiters and headhunters, actually. So you're going to tell me about that. There are the hunters and there are the farmers. And he was like, I'm a hunter. I love the smell of fresh blood in the morning. I love to go after new business. That's my job. And, in headhunter, there is the word, literally. But he was like, in consulting, the partners making the most money, the ones growing the fastest, and the ones helping the firm grow the fastest are the farmers. The ones who are able to take that initial engagement and transform it into a multi-layered, multi-year project involving other teams from the firm. Like, those are the ones who, grow the fastest. How do you farm once you've hunted? I'm not sure of my English here. How do you do that, Bill?
Great question. So on the, you're absolutely right in terms of the hunter versus farmer in the world of sort of headhunting. That's absolutely true. I think my own skill set has definitely evolved over time, and I much prefer the farming approach for my own personal business. But also that as well is because I running my own business, building that up. I've learned the hard way, trying to be all things to all people over the years. But there has to be that element of activity, the hunting, to get to the point where you win that first project and then farm over time. So for me and my business, I'm very much about building a farm-based model that has several clients. I said this to someone a couple of weeks ago that I subscribe to the Jerry Maguire model of clients, which is fewer clients, better service. If you remember the film, great film, but the film starts off with him effectively, getting the sack from his firm for promoting that. But for me, that makes a lot of sense. I'd rather work with a handful of clients where I do, I win the client, I do a great job in one area, I continue to build that, and then ask for a referral into another part of the business. It means that, get to learn the organization in different areas, the culture in different areas, but also you're building through trust, through proven results as well. And that is a really effective way to grow the business, I think, for what I want to build in my own business here. It's not about working with as many clients as possible on as many roles as possible. For me, it's about building a really effective headhunting firm that works with a group of clients. I work with across a couple of areas with them, and they know me when the time's right to engage my services. The phone will be picked up, but also as well, I learn about that organization. So if I've got an idea around a particular candidate or something that I'm seeing in the market, it doesn't have to be necessarily, a candidate idea, but, this is what's happening. This is what I'm seeing elsewhere. Is this something that you're seeing as well? But providing, value through candidates. Yes, that's how I get paid. My business model is the simplest business model in the world. I introduce talent, they get hired, I get paid for it. It doesn't get more complicated than that. But if I can provide value through information, market intelligence, and what's happening, then that's something I'm able to do over the long term, and a great relationship building exercise with them.
I'm interested into digging a little bit deeper in that, because one of the things that we often talk about on the show, and sometimes something we have to figure out for our clients, is some models aren't fit for recurring business, right? In the very nature of it. We recently talked to a gentleman who does cost savings, right? And he's coming in and his goal is to cut costs, and he's a consultant on that. And he's paid on per results only, which is a very interesting offer. But once it's done, it's done. The thing that we figured out, and that some guests mentioned as well, was it wasn't that much about the recurring business in their case, but more about the reoccurring business. Meaning sometimes someone has a need for a headhunter, right? And once the candidate is placed, well, there's not going to be a need for the next 2 years. But then in 2 years and a half, there's going to be a new need. And it's about having done a good job with that person back then. And they're like, yeah, actually, Bill helped us with job, whatever. We definitely might want to bring him back again here. But you need to stay top of mind for that. You need to keep on that relationship building exercise. You need to stick to the nurturing. Is that something you also do? So you mentioned the marketing, the thought leadership aspects of it. Can you talk to us a bit more about the tactical ways of implementing this for people listening to us and who might want to learn from that?
I'll answer it from the perspective of what works in recruitment. Let's say recruitment businesses and the value in recruitment businesses, because I just had a bit of a thought. So if you look at let's focus on recruitment businesses. Just doesn't matter what industry, doesn't matter whether it's financial markets, whether it's oil and gas, whatever. If you look at the value of recruitment businesses, you've got, actually take a step back. You've got permanent recruitment, which is we're hiring this permanent employee, and they'll be there as long as they are, or we're hiring a contract or a temporary employee. So that is someone, say, that very in the world of, let's say, financial services, you've got a lot in change and transformation, for example, or IT or technology. A lot of people come in on 6-12 month contracts. The value of a recruitment business that is predominantly focused on contract or exclusively focused on contract recruitment is a lot higher than those that focus on permanent recruitment, because where the question started around recurring business, that's where you have recurring value. So I, rather than making, let's say I'll just go with a trader, let's say a fixed income trader in the world of financial markets. They're on a permanent salary, they're on X, I charge a percentage of that, and that's a one-off. Now, if that company is growing or needs more work, I support them on an ongoing basis. And that's what I do and I really enjoy. In the contract world, you start off, I place someone as a developer, for example, and they'll be on a day rate or an hourly rate. and you charge a percentage of that, whatever that rate is, for every day, every hour that person is working. So your book of business is always continuously building. As long as you're placing, it's similar to a software as a service model. So the more clients you add, the more that recurring revenue starts to build up and build up. So the value of a recruitment business from an investor perspective or someone looking to acquire is, what is the longevity of that business? How much recurring revenue is there? Whereas permanent recruitment, what I do, or headhunting, is every month, every year, you start from scratch. You start from zero based on a person placing, and then it resets and again and again. So that recurring element of recruitment businesses on the contract and temporary world creates a lot more value in the business world based on your EBITDA and what that looks like, because it's always going to continuously grow as long as you invest and keep growing that. Whereas permanent recruitment restarts from zero. What we've now seen in the recruitment world over the last couple of years has been the growth of recruitment as a service. So this is something that has become more prominent. So rather than focusing on, and this is for the permanent world, so rather than focusing on you're on X salary, I charge Y percentage, it's based on we will charge X amount per month for so many hires, which the as a service model takes itself from software as a service, so recruitment as a service, talent as a service. So it becomes more about we are managing a certain number of hires per month versus we're charging you per role. And as an employer, they can subscribe to that particular service. Some do that they will hire someone exclusively for their business. So you've got some organizations out there that just will give you a recruiter exclusively who will manage that process for you, or they'll employ the company's services on a subscription-based model. That is becoming more prominent. And I think for certain parts of the market, that is certainly a very good solution based on a company and where they're at. For me and where I am, and I obviously just see it through my own lens and my own personal preference, is does that take the thrill out of the chase? Because we have a goal. This is the project, and again, this comes back to my own sports background. We are playing this opposition on Saturday. Our goal is to win. We are looking for promotion at the end of the season. Our goal is to get promoted or win, or survive, or do that. But for headhunters, what is the goal here of what we're looking to achieve with a particular project, with a particular role, to get the organization from that point to that point? And my services are remunerated based on delivering that and ultimately being successful. And for me, again, I can only talk about myself. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning. I've got to have something to aim for, to work towards, and build and continuously go after. So yeah, I know that's perhaps a different sort of answer to where the question started, but that's where I see the recurring business world from a recruitment perspective.
No, that's really good. And so I would love to double down on as a service kind of productization, if we can say so.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We've recently, so I think when this episode will go live, Bill, we will have released one beforehand with a guest named Florian André, who is actually helping companies transform their product in as a service product. So I'll send people back to this episode because it's quite good when it comes to transforming a whole product in an as a service one. To wrap up this interview, Bill, something I like to ask all my guests is, what's your biggest challenge right now? What's the one thing that you know that if you solve, you're going to take the whole business to the next level? What is that one thing that you're looking forward to work on in 2026, since we are recording this episode at the very end of 2025?
Yeah. So this answer that I'm going to give you would be different to if we'd been recording this at the end of 2024. Yeah. So and just to, I guess, sort of answer it with why it would be different to start with. So I set up my own firm, almost 16 months ago. Really, setting it up, saying, what am I going to do here? And let's see how this goes. I've now sort of seen how it's gone, and I now know what I want in terms of my business. So for me, it's not about building the next sort of, big, you've got your bulge bracket investment banks, you've got your big search firm. It's not about doing that for me. It's about building a really effective headhunting business, to come back to the point around farming and working with accounts rather than trying to be all things to all people. So for me, the challenge that I now want to solve going into 2026 is more about building the processes and systems in my business that are going to make me really effective in the day-to-day. I have been on a bit of a sort of personal journey in terms of, when I started my career to, I want to build a business that, exits. I want to do this, I want to do that, which if you'd asked me, in my mid-20s or late 20s, I want to retire as early as possible. I want to do time, wisdom, maturity, life circumstances, becoming a parent has now got me to the point where actually I want to do something that I really enjoy for as long as possible. And I really enjoy what I do. I really enjoy speaking to clients, to candidates, solving challenges, making great hires, seeing companies evolve, develop as a result of, by some result of the work that I've done. So actually now it's about doing more of that with the right companies, with the right candidates. But in doing that, that means that I need to build systems and processes to my business that are going to allow me to do that. So areas around, what do I need to do from a back office to a middle office to a front office that are going to amplify what I do rather than take me away from that. And I think that's from a recruitment business perspective or headhunting. There's that sort of journey of, well, I want to hire people so they can do that for me as soon as possible. The sort of personal journey I've been on is actually, I've really enjoyed doing this. Recruitment and headhunting over the years has probably been sort of classed as a young people's game. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily young, but I'm, definitely got a lot more years in me from a career perspective. And I want to continue to do that. I love talking to people. I love engaging with clients and candidates on a day-to-day basis. So giving that up to just focus on managing other recruiters is something that has taken me quite a while to get to. But now I'm absolutely certain that I want to stay in the game. I want to stay delivering, working with clients, solving problems and working with candidates, but less so on the day-to-day back office, middle office that goes into running a business. That are areas that I know should be a lot easier now to build systems and processes around and get support from. So that's now where I am in my business, about solving those challenges and making sure that I'm really effective in that area of my business so I can focus on the day-to-day, which I love.
Bill, Blair, ladies and gentlemen. Bill, if people want to find out more about you, see what you do, find out more about what's up in 2026, where should they go?
LinkedIn is always easy. It's definitely connect with me on there. Send me a message. I'm on there every day as a result of the work that I do. Please contact me via there. Connect with me. Send me a message. Whatever you want to do, and I'd be glad to help in any way possible.
We'll put the link in the description. For what I'm concerned, we are already connected on LinkedIn. Bill, thank you so much for coming on Consulting Leaders.
Kim, thanks very much for your time. Very good speaking with you. Cheers.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Leaders podcast. We hope you learned valuable lessons on how to grow your practice and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.